So the real reason the cops are here today is because Mr. Scott Gruber doesn't have a front license plate. Right. He's trying to direct him to Chad's car and Dave's car and Abel's car, but we all know that he drives a black truck with no front license plate. Right? Exactly. So I'd like you to welcome Mr. Ryan Grimes. He's the school resource officer for Edwardsville Public Schools. Ryan.
I appreciate you having me. As Chad mentioned, thanks for the invite. I'm Ryan Grimes. I'm one of the school resource officers here in Edwardsville. We have 6 total. Am I too tall?
Yes, I'm handsome too.
All right. You got like from here up. So we have 6 total school officers in our community right now. I am one of 2 that we float all the schools. We're all the way up into Midway to Hamel, Warden schools, and anything in District 7 we encompass with that. Along with that, within my position, I also do all of our community events. We have 3 summer camps that we do in the summer with kids. They range from our Edwardsville youth camp to a camp that we work with about 8 other agencies in the Metro East area. And that is called PAT Camp, Police and Children Together. And we, kids that have behavioral issues, we bring in for a week of team building events and stuff, and we take them throughout the Metro East and St. Louis area to do some fun events too with that as well. And then the 3rd camp that I participate in is with the Illinois State Police. It's a full paramilitary camp. It's boot camp. And these kids that come in are kids that are very troubled. Some of them are court ordered, whether they're going to be in juvenile jail or they come to the camp. And I think last year we had 78 kids in that camp. We take them to Principia College for a week. We keep them. And it's a very taxing week on all of us. I think there were 110 of us that worked it last year in total with municipalities, police departments, as well as state police. So that's kind of a breakdown of what I do, along with National Night Out. I'm sure some of you have been there with your kids before, and some other events that we do, Dare Car Show, things like that. So, but I just wanted to touch a little bit on, as the warmer weather's here, this is typically when we do see an uptick in crime. That's just the general process of how it works. And I think in our community, we are very fortunate. I came from a department prior to here for 7 years up in East Central Illinois. And unfortunately, it was a very violent community. And when I moved here, I joked earlier that I kind of feel like Paul Blart in Edwardsville, which is a great thing. It speaks a lot about the community. It speaks a lot about keeping this community clean, keeping it nice. And that says a lot about our city as well. And I mean, Nate, we work together on different events and stuff too. So throughout the community, City Hall, everybody, the whole community does such a great job. But we still see some crime. Trust me, it's not bad. What you may see pop up here and there, it's very minimal compared to a lot of places. But the one big thing I think we've seen the past few years is some of our subdivisions, door handles get pulled on in your vehicles. Anybody familiar with that? Yeah. And typically those groups are tracked back to the St. Louis area. That's typically where we find the cars and things like that that have been stolen. So just kind of to reiterate a little bit on that, the important thing is to keep your vehicles locked if they're in your driveway. Little tips of don't keep purses, backpacks, book bags, things like that. Even if you have tinted windows, we've had incidents at Joe Glick Park, Plummer Family Sports. Groups travel all over the country. They're called the Felony Lane Gang, and they go to sports parks and communities, and they break your window. If they see a purse or book bag, they grab it and they're gone before you can even realize that it's happened. These groups are not local. They travel the country. That's what they do. They hit our states more in the warm weather because obviously that's when the sporting events and those things are happening. And then they kind of go south as it gets a little colder for us up here. So these are the times that we're going to see things. And I just came from the 5th grade celebration at Joe Glick Park before I came here. And I asked all the parents, do any of you have purses in your? I said, yes, there's a squad car here, but criminals are pretty brazen. And so a few of them said, well, yeah, my purse is in my front seat. I said, well, you may want to go move it just in case. So, but those are just a few things I wanted to touch on to be cognizant of it. If you do have cars parked in your driveway, even if you don't have a book bag or a purse or something showing, or your car is unlocked. It has not happened in Edwardsville, but they will sometimes, if you have garage door openers, they will take those because they can come back. Okay. Things that we typically don't think of, until it happens. So if you have a garage door visible, I know a lot of newer cars obviously have the built-in home links and things like that. But if you have a garage door visible opener, sometimes they'll just take those and they'll come back. Again, hasn't happened in Edwardsville, but this is something that happens. If you in fact ever see somebody on your cameras or something at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, do not approach them. Do not go outside. We have video footage, not from Edwardsville again, but from other communities across the river that some of these criminals were actually carrying a gun in one hand and checking car doors with the other in your driveways. So again, none of the video footage we've received in the past 2, 3 years, we've seen any of that, but these are things that we share. We have a network of information called Ill Crime, and that is for the entire both sides of the river. So if we have any type of crime that we want to put out, we disseminate that information, and that actually goes to every single police officer that is incorporated around the whole St. Louis metro area, as well as this side of the river. So we get those videos, we get those pictures anytime these things happen. So we have a good group of that. They have auto theft task force in place. They have put a lot of federal jurisdictions to focus on these things. So, but again, it's just something I wanted to touch on. We go about our daily lives. Everybody's busy. You get home, you're unloading your kids, you're unloading your groceries, you're getting your stuff from work. You may forget to lock your car. You may forget to take something out of sight in your car. Be cognizant of this. Get used to a routine at night. You probably have your routine with your children or with other things. Check your car doors, check your garage doors, check your front doors, make sure everything's locked. I still get made fun of at my house because I lock my truck in the garage, but it's just habit. It's just something that I'm used to. I get out and I hit it. Okay. So it's just be consistent with what you do. I know we're all busy, but this is the time of year we do start to see things increase considerably. So we'll see more people pulling on door handles. I know our officers are combing through subdivisions at night because we have to log all of that. All that information is inputted into the system. It's all GPS monitored. Our body cams are also GPS monitored as well as our cars. So every movement we make, they can tell. So they're seeing it. We're going through subdivisions, but where we might be in Sunset Hills, they may be in Essex at that time. It's very hard. And if you get behind them if you notice something that's suspicious, you get behind them and pull them over, they immediately take off. And it just happens. So we don't chase. And Tim, you probably know a lot of this, we don't chase. We will only chase for certain crimes. And that's for the safety of everybody sitting in this room, your families, your extended families. We are in a busy area, a lot of traffic. So we have special things in place. We're not just going to chase somebody because they took a purse. Because if you and your family are getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning to go to the airport, and that car does not obey any stop signs or stop lights because they don't, and they hit you, and now we're chasing them for a purse and somebody's severely hurt and or killed, it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. So we get a lot of questions in those situations. Why didn't you go get them? Why didn't you do this? Well, it's just a brief explanation that safety is certainly more important than any one life. So just some crimes, just some things I wanted to talk about and reiterate. And I love that you do this. The donations of money, that's something that we're big, our union's into. We hold some events so we can give back. I'm sure a lot of you have seen Shop with a Cop. That's kind of our big thing, our heart and soul for us. And we're working with the district to start a shoe program because we actually see quite a few kids in the school district that need shoes. And that's something that we're working towards. And Steve Cooper and Steve's been working with me. And we're working towards how we're going to implement this. We're going to do it slowly. It's hard to do every school in the district at once. We're going to start slow, and we're going to allow the district to identify where they want to start, where the most need is. And once that is, we're trying to figure out all the logistics of it do we stock shoes? Do we let them go to a store? Like we're figuring all of that out. But our union and the district is starting that program. We're hoping to implement it by August. So that's something that's important to me. And when I go in the schools, these are the things I see. And just something as simple as watching kids walk and seeing I had a kid this semester at a school that his toes were poking out of one of his shoes. And so that kind of, the brain starts going. And, I think a lot of us take a lot for granted, even though we don't realize it when we go home to our homes. We get into our cars, we go buy groceries, we go out to eat, we do these things. And sometimes we don't realize that, well, you realize you're here doing the community a service, but some of us don't realize it. We do take it for granted, including myself. So we've got a lot in motion that I feel we do behind the scenes. I appreciate the invite today. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Yeah, of course you do, Scott. Yeah.
The question on the shoe program.
Yeah.
Are you looking at new shoes or like dated shoes? I know the realtors did something a few years ago before COVID, where they would collect shoes and give those out. What's the plan?
We're going to do new shoes. And so obviously we've talked about, we can't just have one style of shoe, because then that will be identified as the free shoe. And we know that. So we're looking at we don't know a number, 9, 10, 12, whatever the number is, stylish shoes. And that's why we're talking about stock. If we get stock, where are we going to store them? What sizes are we going to? So we're trying to figure all of those pieces out to make it work, but they're all going to be brand new shoes.
And in the comment, talking with Brian last night, I know you guys have seen around town the relay deal that you've been seeing on Facebook, and our friend Mark behind us. Well, for 3 or 4 nights after he disappeared, we were driving around the neighborhoods till like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I cannot believe how many people had their garage doors open, lights out. It's not like they just pulled in, take groceries in. I mean, it was crazy that we noticed that every other house had a garage door open, and that's just inviting problems like this. So something as simple as just keep the damn door open.
Get in that routine at night before you go to bed. Open your door, look at your garage, check your front door, your sliding doors. Just check all those things before you go to bed. Just a routine. It's a routine. So, it's obviously we don't believe everything you read on the internet, right? Try to get that across to kids. Sometimes it doesn't go so well. But you'll see things throughout your social media, Edwardsville Connection, things like this. And I'll touch on one that the Best Buy incident. Who saw that when it hit social media 4 or 5, 6 months ago? The Best Buy incident. Anybody see that on social media? Right? Huh? They said that Best Buy there was an armed robbery or something. And that's not at all what happened. So, and I can't talk about what happened, but it was not that. And that's just an example of, I open my social media and I think it was on a Saturday or Sunday, and I see armed robbery Best Buy, and I'm like, I think I would have gotten something about that by now, So I just took it with a grain of salt and went about my day. And we get notes on what transpires throughout the city as police officers, so we all know if we're coming into shift or if we're off on a weekend or off on a Wednesday, we know what's happening. So when we come back to work, we're up to date. So when I got the notes that night, I read through them and I'm like, yeah, that wasn't an armed robbery. But immediately somebody had posted this on social media. So, and then the comments just start coming in, 200-300 comments. We all know this. And tell your friends, don't jump to conclusions, please, because the phone calls start to us too, and what happened, so just be cognizant. The big thing is one of the biggest things we've seen, and this is a great thing, is some car doors pulled on. I mean, we don't typically get the crime in this community, so that's a great thing. And that speaks a lot about everyone in this room too, keeping the community the way it is, and we appreciate that. Yes.
The Principia boot camp thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm not asking if I can.
Okay. I'll sponsor them if you want.
Follow up and see how the kids are doing after.
So we do. We don't know an actual rate. That's something they started tracking within the past couple of years. I got involved with Master Sergeant Calvin Dye of the state police. He called the wrong phone number, and somehow it was my phone number 2 years ago. And and then when we started talking, he's like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Who are you?" And that's how it all kind of started. And he said, "Well," he goes, "I'm going to call your boss. You're going to work a camp with me this summer." And I'm like, okay. And I worked the camp that summer and I basically said, if I even come out of the schools at any point, I will take a week of my own time, my vacation to participate in that camp. Because I think it's that important. And from the follow-up stance, a lot of these kids, are East St. Louis, Cahokia, places like that. We do have a couple kids from Edwardsville that participated last year and we've gotten 5 signed up this year. Parents have signed them up, currently. But we do a lot of stuff with the JJK Center. I go down there and assist, because the state police essentially run East St. Louis right now. Any major crimes down there, they have an entire unit there. And so they're kind of the push behind this whole camp. It's going into its 16th year. So we do events for them down there. We've taken kids to hockey games, football games, baseball games. We've done follow-up with them if they choose to. Some don't want us to contact them when it's done because we've yelled at them for 6 days. So we ease up as obviously they earn a little bit of, it gets a little better each day for most of them, not all of them. But we do follow-ups. And an unfortunate part, I'll go to a sad point. One of our campers from last year, a great kid, he was found in a field in just outside St. Louis about 3 months ago. Great kid. Both his parents were, when he was younger, they were killed by gunfire, both his mom and dad. Grandma had a really tight leash on him. I told you guys this already. Started to release a little bit, give him a little bit more freedom. And he was found in a field. He was actually one of our better kids last summer too. Shot, yeah, multiple times. So, again, I work in the city of Edwardsville, but at the end of the day, I think we as human beings and we as society, we need to be giving back where we can. And I'm giving my time. That's all I'm doing when I go to this camp and do these things. And it's very important to me to do it. That's what I talk about, taking things for granted. We at least catered in food for us last year for the kids. And obviously out of the 75, 78 kids that were there, not one kid has ever heard of what Edley's barbecue is, right? We have Chick-fil-A coming in this year for one of their meals too. We're trying to expand on some different things to provide them a little bit of, of what they don't get every day, what any one of us can leave here and go do right now. So it's a fun week. It really is. But it's a lot. So we do follow-ups with them. So you want to take some of them home too, trust me.
Change dispensing.
This?
Yeah.
Oh, those are magazines. From, yeah. It makes sense. It does look like one of the, I'm gonna get the change out. I get it. I get it. So that's great. No, I love it. I love it. We got a lot of, and I don't carry all my equipment because I'm in the schools. Like, I don't carry my glove holder and stuff. So, but typically our belts are just completely full. So.
It's a good one to tell back at the station.
Oh, yeah.
The past president of Rotary. Thinks I work at the car lot.
I mean, come on. I get it. Right, exactly. Any questions? Anybody else? No?
What was that fun one at Quick Trip? I like took out a gas station.
Yeah, what happened up there?
What happened at Quick Trip?
Oh, the dump truck?
Yeah, yeah, they took it out.
That was a stolen dump truck out of, I think, like East St. Louis or somewhere, and it got chased. Somehow they ended up in Edwardsville at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Wasn't you guys?
No, it just came into our city and from down south, and it ran through Quick Trip and wrecked. Yeah, it was just a fluke of a thing. They ended up here, so it happens. You had a question? Wait, do you have a taser? Do you have a taser? Oh, you just wanted me to use mine?
Somebody else.
Well, I think we all know it'd be Gruber if we did it, so. What's that? The one I have, yes. That's a very broad question. Because it really constitutes, it depends on what happens. There's so many what ifs. When I sat down to become a police officer, The first day, the criminal law book was about that thick. That covers all criminal law and vehicle, IVC, Illinois Vehicle Code. And those are things that we have to know and be able to make a split-second decision. Right? So you asked me when I can. It's a great question. I could have used it the other day, Monday, on somebody. We had somebody not from Edwardsville. People just like to travel through, it seems like. But we had somebody run from a traffic stop, and we ended up catching them over here. And that would have constituted us using a taser. But we were able to chase them down and get a hold of them and not have to use a taser. So 13 years I've been a police officer. I've never used it, not once. So, I tell the kids that I instruct, the strongest weapon I have is my mouth. A de-escalation thing. I know we all hear a lot about it, but it truthfully is very powerful when you can talk to somebody. My prior department, I've arrested murderers. I've arrested some of the worst of the worst. I've been shot at, in my old department. But what I can tell you is, even the worst of the worst people, I treat with the utmost respect. Because typically we as police officers see people on their worst day. And that doesn't give us the right to treat them any different. We don't know their background. We don't know their upbringing. We don't know what they've been through. And so it's important to treat somebody with the respect they deserve. So I've never been in a fight in 13 years. I've had people want to get away. They might just try and pull away and resist, but I've never had to use most tools on my belt because I'm able to talk to people. And that's one of the things when I train, I try to teach people is you got to be able to communicate, because if you can't, it's going to be it's going to be very difficult for you to be a police officer. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Danville? Where are you from? Where are you from?
So it's like.
Yeah, never heard of it. Okay, yeah, Danville. So, yeah, all right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's all yours.
Well, thank you.
Unnecessary and that the Sophie family.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for your time. Thank you.
Absolutely.